A Jewish child brought home a report card with a 97 in science. His parents had one question. What happened to the other 3 points? We're all familiar with being told where we fall short. So I braced myself when a professor covered my first paper in green ink. I figured it was for my own good, but I thought this is not how I wanted to start graduate school. But as I looked more closely, I realized that these were dozens of positive comments. Poetic turn of phrase. You've now convinced me of your argument. And this treatment was not reserved for me. She did this in some form for everyone. Now maybe you think, that's coddling. To me, it was revelatory. It was like she had looked deep into my soul and seen my best intentions. Her comments helped me notice things that I didn't even know that I was doing, but should do more. But what struck me most was how countercultural it felt for someone to be so attentive in a positive direction. And here's what I'd like to focus. Imagine the effect on the professor. What a beautiful way to walk through the world, looking for opportunities to let people know she appreciates them. This is part of what we're celebrating as we mark this birthday of the world. God takes moments throughout the first week to recognize goodness. On that 5th day, God wasn't like, koala's cute, that's creepy. No, God summarized the whole day with, this is good. To be clear, Judaism is not about ignoring what is problematic. We break a glass at a wedding of all places to remind ourselves of the world's brokenness. But on Rosh HaShanah, we seek to recalibrate the balance between light and darkness. And this is a year I think we can agree. Let there be more light. I'll ask us all to reflect for a moment. To what extent do we regularly notice, appreciate, and communicate a positive trait about others in our lives and the impact that it has on us? In the past week, how many specific positive observations did we each convey to the people around us? Increasing our intentional articulation of the good is something concrete we can do in response to all of the societal forces around us today. Our natural negativity bias, that human tendency to zero in on problems to help us detect and avoid danger, it's on overdrive. News media and social media intentionally antagonize us to attract our eyeballs and drive clicks. Extremism thrives when we make snap judgments of one another, moving us further apart and increasing the possibility of chaos. So we have to take control of where we place our gaze. This is not an exclusively modern problem. The Talmud describes when Rabbi Yochanan met a man named Resh Lakish, a gladiator, a bandit, a man whose entire life was defined by violence. You can imagine Yochanan sizing him up, the scars, the muscles, the reputation. Rabbi Yochanan could have assumed the worst. Instead, he saw possibility. This energy could serve Torah. The rabbi invited Resh Lakish to leave behind the arena and the thievery and to channel his strength into learning. Against all odds, Resh Lakish said yes. He became Yochanan's student and soon his closest study partner. Together, they wrestled with words, not weapons. Rabbi Yochanan loved that Resh Lakish could provide 24 objections for every one of his insights. Lakish's ferocity became such an asset in the house of learning. But one day, In the heat of a legal debate about swords and spears, Yochanan unleashed an insult about his friend's sordid past. He said, "Leave it to a robber to know about knives." A single sentence undid years of trust. Their friendship shattered. Soon after, Reish Lakish died. Some say of a broken heart. There's no happy ending. The Talmud lets us feel the loss here. And in so doing, it teaches the words that we use with one another can lift someone into a whole new life or cut so deep that they destroy the bond between us. I do believe that our collective fabric is so frayed that every stitch of repair matters. Maybe we can start by applying these lessons at home. Does your family show affection through perfectionism? I get it. We want the best for our relatives and friends, and so we might call out that they don't have the best taste in relationships, or that they maybe work too hard, or not enough. Loved ones give each other feedback, sure. But let's take stock of the balance of that feedback. Might we also say, for no reason at all, "I love your sense of humor. That was such a very caring thing you just said. You have a way of really calming me down." Not as the lead-in to a request, not as the soft launch into our critique, but for its own sake. And when we do, consider what we're putting into the atmosphere. We're taught that God created the world through speech. What we choose to say forms the world we inhabit as well. As a rabbi, I have been to too many funerals where someone's relatives tell me that they didn't vocalize the loving thing they meant to say to the deceased before their passing. You can absolutely say it afterwards, but there's a different satisfaction that comes from seeing someone's reaction to your observation. This can be part of this year's teshuvah, of us returning to our best selves. Raise your hand if you can think of someone in your life with whom you can share more of your positive observations. I'd like to compliment you on your self-awareness. Now nod if you are promising, amongst all of these witnesses, to tell them in the next 24 hours. Great, I'll talk to 4 of you later. Okay. So this is level 1. This is base camp. Tell the people whom you love what you love about them. But I want to take this to an advanced level. There may be someone in your life who bothers you. Maybe multiple people. There's some quality about them that rubs you the wrong way. They're rigid, they're a know-it-all, they speak slowly. Our judgment can be pretty instantaneous. Then we can fixate on this characteristic and it soon becomes our whole experience of them. I've definitely done this. I volunteer as a GED math tutor at a prison reentry program. Several months ago, we were reviewing pretty simple problems involving fractions, like adding a half and a fourth. And this one student kept blurting out incorrect answers. He wasn't trying to be disruptive, but he seemed to be randomly guessing again and again, and it irritated me. And so I decided that he was impulsive and basically hopeless. And so I turned my attention away from him and focused on the other students. This is painful for me to admit because I claim to believe that all teachers should have the best in mind for all of their students. In fact, Pirkei Avot, the wisdom of our ancestors, says, Judge everyone with the scale weighted in their favor. The Hebrew is more nuanced. It says, Dan et kol ha'adam, judge all of a person with the scale weighted in their favor, meaning get to know someone completely, the whole person, before deciding who they are. I could have chosen to focus on the student's enthusiasm and his good-naturedness. I could have noticed that he was showing up to a high school level math class in his 40s. To his credit, he kept showing up. And eventually I noticed that he had a particular knack for calculations involving money. I once asked the class what was half of $11, and he immediately said $5.50. And so I ultimately tailored more of my explanations to play to this strength, which changed his performance and his whole demeanor. He was like a different person. He was much more self-assured and far less anxious, and I'm sure I appeared very different too, much more patient and encouraging. We both had it in us. It just took time to see things in the right light. The Hasidic Rabbi, Nachman of Breslov, calls this process looking for the nikuda tova, looking for the good point in someone. In his world, Rabbi Nachman was speaking about Jews, and given his history of depression, he was likely speaking about himself. But to me, it applies to everyone. In this new year, it is our spiritual task to ask, what is one quality I can find in this person that helps me shift my perception of them towards the positive, the good, the worthy? Something that I can appreciate, something that makes me smile, something that helps me not simply dwell on what irritates or troubles me or makes me feel inadequate, but something that could add lightness or respect to our dynamic. One nikuda tova, one entry point, a seed that might grow. A friend of mine really struggles with his sister. But the sister has recently become a caring dog owner, revealing a new side of her, a more selfless side. So my friend now starts their conversations by asking about the dog. It's a point of genuine connection, and it changes the energy in their dynamic. It's a start. May that point become a pivot. Now, I know I need to pivot when I find myself in opposition to everything that a person says or does before they even say or do it. That mindset not only runs counter to the spirit of Rosh HaShanah, a time when we are called to believe in change and new beginnings, but it is also hurtful to me because it takes away my own discernment and agency. If this person does something unexpected, I might not even notice because I've already written the script. I've already cast the verdict. I need to stop my own heart from hardening and my own mind from shrinking before I consider myself to be the ultimate judge. That job is already taken. Still, what about the people who not only annoy us, but who have a pattern of proving that they cannot be trusted, having caused real harm again and again? You can earnestly find nothing redeemable about them. Judaism is committed to self-preservation. So if someone is threatening you, you should stay away from them, if not seek to prevent them from hurting other people. In fact, the verse right after judge people with the scale weighted in their favor is keep distance from an evil neighbor. Sometimes the best we can do is do our best and not let them take our virtues and values away from us. We read in the Talmud that Rav Meir cursed hooligans wreaking havoc in his neighborhood, praying that these evildoers would be destroyed. His wise wife, Bruria, interjected, "Destroy not the evildoers, but the evil acts." We need to call out injustices and not sugarcoat them. We need to hold people accountable for their actions. Yet in a world of harshness and polarization, we also cannot abandon our humanity. I don't want anyone to die, even if I want their behaviors to stop immediately. Rather than allowing hatred, rage, or bitterness to consume my soul, I can choose to cultivate the nikudot tovot, the points of goodness that were instilled in me, calling on them to help me build the world I long to see. Rabbi Nachman taught a bonus meaning for the word nikudah, a musical note, a melodic sound, a single tone. We can not only see the good, but we can sing it. So sometimes during prayer services, especially when we use wordless melodies, I'll think of a relationship that I want to improve. I'll think of a positive quality about that person, and then use the tune as an ode to that quality. It helps me associate that person with song, and it helps retune me in greater harmony with the world. Let's try it. For now, think of one good relationship that you want to strengthen. Now think of one positive point in them that you want to lift up. Now let's let that quality take flight. The melody will come around, so join when you're ready. May the Nikudat Todva usher in a Shana Tova for you and yours. Good Yantif.